that the reason, at least this is what it says in Wikipedia, that the kangaroo was chosen as the national mascot was because it was a unique mammal that can't actually go in reverse. It doesn't retreat. It moves forward, powers on, always forward. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor. One of the highlights of our campus Kinus is hearing from a fellow campus shliach, a devoted soldier on the front. Tonight we are delighted to have Rabbi Eli Feldman, a mite who has traveled all the way from Australia, Sydney, Australia, to address this esteemed assemblage. Rabbi Feldman, together with his Rebbitzin, serve as the Jewish chaplain at Sydney University, University of North South Wales, and Macquarie University, and Rabbi Feldman also serves as the Vice President of the Rabbinical Council of New South Wales. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Rabbi Eli Feldman.
Good evening, everyone, or should I say good morning. On the other side of the world in Sydney, I've got a bit of a cold because we're coming from the winter. We had the coldest day in the year on Shabbos. So I'm coming from the coldest day of the year to some hot weather, trying to acclimatise. But it's not just the weather that's warm, it's the passion and the energy here, and it's amazing to be here. On the other side of the world in Sydney, my wife Elke is getting our kids ready for school on a wintry Aussie morning, all rugged up in their jumpers. That's what you guys here call sweaters. We've been operating Chabad on campus in Sydney, Australia since 2002. I'm also the official Jewish chaplain at the universities in our city. Last month, a young woman we know was the guest speaker at a large women's event in Sydney in honor of Pesach Sheni. Her name is Juliet Vesely, and she works as a personal fitness trainer. Over the years, she has traveled the world, represented Australian soccer at the International Maccabiah Games, and become a Torah-observant Jewess. She spoke at that event about her spiritual journey, her work as a fitness coach, and how they're intrinsically connected. The problem she often faces with some of her clients is that they're happy to pay her to train with them, but they find it difficult to exercise daily on their own. A bit like when we put on tefillin with people, but get them to do it by themselves is a bit more challenging. She has overcome this problem by applying what she calls the Rabbi Eli method, which she teaches all of her clients. I was flattered when I heard that a fitness training technique has been attributed to myself. I don't look like a fitness guru here, but what is the Rabbi Eli method? In Juliet's own words, my involvement with Torah observance began when I met Rabbi Eli and Rabbi Elke Feldman through Chabad on campus in Sydney 14 years ago. And there's a picture on the screen of my wife Elke with her. She unfortunately wasn't able to come. Baruch Hashem, Kanai Nahara, we've got the kids at home, and Baruch Hashem. I was in college at the time, and I met the Feldmans through a mutual friend at my university. This is her speaking, Julia. I came to a few of Rabbi Eli's classes and was inspired by what I learned, so I asked to meet with him privately to seek his advice on some personal issues. As part of our discussion, I indicated an interest in the Jewish teachings that I had learned from him and asked him how I could incorporate more Jewish practice in my life. He wrote down 4 things on a napkin that was on the table. We were eating some strawberries at the time, and I was about to wipe my hands, and she was like, well, shall I go get a paper? I was like, no, I'll write it down on this napkin. Anyway, I wrote down these things for her. I told her, take on one at a time. All the 4 things. Number 1, say the Shema every morning and night. Number 2, light Shabbos candles. Number 3, check mezuzahs. And number 4, put a stocker box in your room and give a coin every day when you get up. Why did I think of these things? I thought, what are the basics? Torah, tefillah, tzedakah. Let's throw them in. Very simple. So Juliet continues, for a year, all I did were the first 2. Then the next year, Rabbi Eli asked me if I wanted to go to his Tuesday night JLI classes. I went on and off for a couple of years. Picture comes up, that's her at the JLI class in 2003. As an aside, we were offering JLI classes for young adults and specifically college students before Sinai Scholars was created, and Sinai Scholars is fantastic, and we've transitioned to that. Anyway, Juliet continues, when I went traveling, Rabbi Eli connected me to a few Chabad houses in the various countries that I visited. While traveling, I picked up the book, The Rebbe's Army. Finally, it clicked why he kept inviting me for Shabbos every week. I thought back then that he and his family must be lonely. That's why they keep inviting me, even though I say no thank you. Little did I realize that they were trying to share their home and Shabbos experience with me, much like the rest of the shluchim all over the world. So it's dangerous to give your students the Rebbe's Army. They'll see it's part of a plan. If Rabbi Eli had told me to keep Shabbos and kosher, I would have ended up doing nothing. It's precisely because he advised me to observe a few easy and achievable mitzvahs that I was able to maintain them and slowly incorporate more mitzvahs in my life as I grew in my Yiddishkeit. I have incorporated the Rabbi Eli approach in my career helping people with their physical fitness. In guiding my clients to a healthier lifestyle, I tell them to start making a healthy lunch once a week on Monday. Just once a week, make a healthy lunch. Then it slowly becomes dinner as well, then breakfast every Tuesday, and over time they feel more comfortable to only eat healthy food. Juliet did not forget that first step on her spiritual journey and the life-changing lessons she learned from it. In fact, here is a picture she took last week together with a very napkin that she has kept for 14 years. Juliet has become an ambassador for a Torah true lifestyle. She lives it, loves it, and shares it with the people she comes into contact with. Being a Chabad on campus shliach means serving at the front line. We're the first contact for people like Juliet at an important junction in their life. I bumped into Jake Campbell at a large students event in 2010. We got to talking, and I asked him if he would like to put on tefillin. He looked at me and said, "What's that?" And so began Operation Make Jake a Bar Mitzvah, which very soon became Project Get Jake a Jewish Name. We've got to give him an aliyah, what are we going to call him, right? We've got to get him a Jewish name, which requires a procedure. Newly named Yaakov Yisrael at the age of 21, Jake had a lovely Bar Mitzvah celebration wearing his own pair of tefillin. The event was featured in the local Jewish newspaper under the headline, "It's never too late for a Bar Mitzvah." Jake became a regular over the next few years. His favorite part of Friday night dinner with us at Chabad is benching. He loves the idea that after we're finished eating and are fully content, we spend 10 minutes thanking Hashem for all of the wonderful things that he does for us. Jake finished his teaching degree and started looking for work here in the United States. The same young man who had started off with very little Jewish knowledge took a job where he's currently working for Hillel, strengthening the Jewish pride at Florida State University in Tallahassee, Florida. Although Hillel have their own Shabbos services, whenever possible, Jake heads over to the Chabad house with Rabbi Oruchman to daven in the same Chabad style he got to love back home in Sydney. And I just took a selfie this afternoon with Rabbi Oruchman, myself and Rabbi Oruchman, and I sent it to Jake. I said, "Guess who's together now?" Last month, the picture coming up, this is from last month in May, Jake led a group of Florida State University students on a birthright trip to Israel. A highlight of his trip was taking the students to the Western Wall. Following that experience, Jake proudly wrote the following post on Facebook on the 15th of May. And here's the post. "Over the last 2 days, I've been blessed to witness 3 students choose Hebrew names and 17 students choose to have a bar mitzvah." Jake then referenced his own bar mitzvah as one of my first steps into feeling like I belonged to the Jewish community and could actually call myself a Jew. It's one thing to be brought up Jewish. It's totally another thing to intentionally choose to be Jewish. And every Jew, no matter how or where they were brought up, or whatever their experience, deserve their portion in the Torah. Jake continues, "Mazel tov and yasher koyach to all that have been bar mitzvah and have received Hebrew names, confirming their place in our collective history, community, culture, and struggle. I am nothing less than privileged to have been a part of this moment, and I'm certain you will go from strength to strength. These are the words of Jake, leader of Hillel at Tallahassee University. It's a small world when Chabad on campus in Sydney, Australia inspires a young leader to travel to Florida, United States, and connect Jewish students to their heritage in Jerusalem, Israel. Look around this room and you will see an army of people who are committed to connecting with so many Jay Campbells, Juliet Vesely's, Charlie Goldberg's, by providing that first encounter, that first step in a young person's observance of Yiddishkeit. Juliet may call it the Rabbi Eli method, but we all know that it's really the Rebbe's method. The Rebbe taught us that each mitzvah counts and each person counts. So we do all we can to connect each person to a mitzvah and another mitzvah and another mitzvah. We feed them for Shabbos, we educate them through classes like Sinai Scholars, we listen while they tell us what's going on in their lives, and we empower them to carry the flame so that wherever they go, they take the light of Torah mitzvahs with them. Every shliach has these stories that remind us of why we are here. We have all met people like Juliet, Jake, and Charlie. And we can only do it because people who believe in it support us to continue. And George is not going to like this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Generous people like Mr. George Raw, who helped us solidify our activities as Chabad on campus in Sydney by awarding us a 3-year grant in 2004. Mr. Raw, you continue to enhance the power of our shlichus and the number of young people we can reach through Sinai Scholars and JLI, which is where Juliet's journey began. On a very personal level, you're also helping us to raise our children by giving them the opportunity to learn Torah at a high level in a very exciting way. 2 months ago, our daughter Freda, together with her friend Chaim Mushki-Kivan, competed as finalists in another of your projects, the Roar International Chidon Sefer HaMitzvos in Crown Heights. Mr. Roar, on behalf of the hundreds of thousands of Juliets, Jakes, Charlies, and Fredas throughout the world that continue to be inspired by your generosity, we say thank you. Although he isn't here joining us today, we express our deep appreciation to Rabbi Moshe Kotlarsky, who has been the driving force behind the expansion and growth of Chabad on campus throughout the world, and who was instrumental in helping us establish our Chabad on campus branch in Sydney. Since we started 14 years ago, our shlichus has been exponentially enhanced by the services that Chabad on Campus International Headquarters provide, both in terms of support and resources. A particular thank you goes to the dedicated Chabad on Campus team at head office and the entire Chabad on Campus VAD, and I'd like to mention them all by name, but I was sitting and I made a short list of a few of the rabbis that have been helping me at the headquarters, and I was sitting with my wife and well, she said, well, what about the Rebbitzins? You've got to include them. I mean, as George said, they're the real thing. So I threw them in and I got threw the other ones in, and the list became so long that I had to cut it. But thank you to each and every single one of you. It takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a great team to build a multinational, successful organization such as Chabad on Campus International. At this time, it's an honor for me to introduce a champion of all campus shluchim and shluchas, the Executive Vice President of Chabad on Campus International, Rabbi Yossi Gordon.